It's Monday night, it's RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to Monday Night Skippys here. Round number 4 from Circuit Park Zandvoort here in the Netherlands. Out in the sand dunes, the race cars are running around right now for qualifying as we get set for tonight's event. A record number of cars on track here tonight. We have 55 cars. And it's Rachel Whitefoot along with Sumil Ora here for you in the commentary booth. Hugo Louise on those cameras. Sumil, this is one of those tracks that we were just discussing beforehand. Some of these corner names are a mouthful.
Some of these corner names really are a mouthful over here, but the overall racing that we can get to see over here at Zandvoort can be quite interesting. Now, normally it's a circuit where you don't really get to see a lot of overtakes, but with these Skippy cars, every single corner is virtually a passing opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. These corners really have a lot of potential. And one thing we've seen in more recent times being the first corner. Sumil, we see people hold it around the outside here. We see people try and go round the outside here in the first corner. Has this become our new experimentation spot?
Oh yeah, that's going to be quite a fun thing to watch out for in this particular race, because the last time I was doing a Skippy broadcast, it happened to be at Zandvoort, and there were so many people trying to make a move around the outside, and miraculously, it worked. It seemed to be the faster line, so maybe, just maybe, we could see drivers trying to go around the outside and executing their moves to perfection.
Absolutely could. Time's looking pretty fast right now. We're in the sub 1 minute 54, 55 sort of second area through most of your field. Right now, the pole time is provisionally Benny Simonson. He's on 1:53.938. Actually, my screen was scrolled down. Joe Osborne, actually, a newcomer to the series, is actually currently on pole with a 53.875, and Benny is second place there, Tom Bridle third. So our 1 second bracket right now, Sumil, is going to be in the 54.8s, which kind of takes us a long way here. This takes us down to 16th place. So the second bracket being our real indicator in Skippy of how close this thing will be. 17, 16 cars, that's a good number.
It really is, and that's the one thing I love about these Skippy Championships, that you've got so many cars and so many people right in there in the same bracket. As you rightly mentioned, around 16 people within a second of each other. I mean, if that's not good competition, I have no idea about what is. And now look at that, the bracket has been extended to 17 cars, and for Joe Osborne, just like any other driver, you make one tiny error and you could find yourself all the way back in, what, P10, P12, and that really is a fascinating thing to see, to be honest. And if we can see something similar in the race, we should be in for a treat, I'll be honest.
I seriously think we will. Joe Osborne, a driver we've not really seen before in this series, a newcomer, and stamping his mark already, which is pretty exciting to see, as Benny rises to the challenge there, dropping it below the 1:53.8 down to a 7:47. Oh, let's see if he's got a jumbo performance to go with that time.
Really has. So that's a 1:53.747 by Simonson right at the top, and you kind of get a feeling that it was the draft coming into picture. I mean, Zandvoort is not really a circuit that you would associate with straight lines, but even that miniature straight line that we've got at the back over there, with these Skippy cars, if you can get the draft on the exit, it can really pay off in terms of your lap times, even in the qualifying, and it can help you attack in the race as well.
Absolutely can. Well, we're looking through these times as drivers will go putting times in with this open session we're going through today. Weather at the moment, 26 degrees Celsius with mostly cloudy skies. Track is only a little bit warmer at 30 degrees Celsius. Winds from the south at 6 miles per hour, or kilometers per hour. Humidity is 53% with an air pressure of 103 kilopascals, which is on the rise. So these are pretty good conditions, I'd say, Sumil. This is just over average we expect for the Skippy. It's a little on the warm side. It's a good day for racing. That cloudy sky, though, I think will maybe make things a little slipperier than the temperatures would suggest.
Yeah, and as if it wasn't slippery enough, because for these Skippy cars, if you kindly notice, the tires, look at that, they're barely anything. There's barely any mechanical grip to go along as well. And if you notice as well, there's barely any downforce adding winglets attached to the car as well. So for them, as you can see on the screen, they're just skipping and sliding around the circuit anyway. And with those clouds coming in on the cover, things get even more trickier. But again, these Skippy cars, they're just so hard to spin around, because although they may be sliding around over here, you can just keep it under control very easily. So the racing in the end, it may appear to be very sideways, but it's very controllable. But those clouds coming in, it certainly does add an extra element into the deciding factors for this particular race.
Well, qualifying is about to draw to a close, so we'll get you those results in a moment. But before that, Sumil, we've noticed this car has been, for the last couple of seasons, last couple of builds, a very different beast on cold tyres. Is that going to be the real difference maker in lap one?
I think it can be to a certain degree, because if drivers don't really get the temperatures in, of course, laying down the power isn't really a major issue with the Skippys, considering how little it's got. But when you go to these corners like they are going right now, this downhill right corner that we have before the couple of right-handers, it does become very tricky because the tyres won't really offer you the optimal amount of grip. And a result of that, as you've seen in the lap times, is that you could lose on just those crucial couple of tenths or hundredths of a second. And considering how close the field is in this Monday Night Skippys Championship, that will cost you a lot of positions in the course of this race. So again, yet another thing to watch out for in this quick race that we're going to have here today.
Absolutely is. Well, that qualifying time is going to be drawing to a close now. A couple of drivers still out on track, one of them being Benny Simonsen coming through the Audi S right now. He's behind the 25 machine there of Joe Osborne. Both still out on track, in fact, coming towards the end of one of their laps. This will be interesting to see if either of them can improve here, Simil. See if we can get anything from them. That wasn't actually Audi. I believe that was Vodafone and Renault. They just came through. Dropping into Audi here, then into Hunsrud. The bottom here before driving up towards Kumhorbach. There's the Dutch that I'm definitely not pronouncing correctly. As we get down towards the final corner, which I'm going to be respectful to the gentleman's name, who the last corner is named after, and call it Last Corner. I'd rather say that than make the mess of it that I probably will. As looks like Joe Osborne pulled off. Benny's going to go for a last run across the line here. Will it be an improvement? He stayed out, so I think he has hopes it could be. No, much, much slower. So those times are likely going to stay here. It looks like everybody else is dropping to pit road as a couple of guys just running the ends of their laps. But this session is definitely looking like it's going to have a lot of exciting potential for us today. And dropped to 15 cars in that 1 second bracket right here towards the end with Michael R. Cook with a 1:54.705 being the last driver in that group. Still not a huge amount of drivers changed. We've still got the same rough number. It's going to be a close race, I think, is probably the best way we can look at this one, as the last of those guys will come on to pit road to your qualifying order. Benny Simonsen, as stated, puts it on pole with a 1:53. Simon Edwards there in second place on a 1:53.470. Joe Osborne just behind him there in third with an 8.75. Did not improve that one. We've got Tom Bridle and Leigh Hughes rounding out your top five with Anthony Catt, Lee Anderson, Matt Hannigan, Martin Booker, Clark Williams in 10th, with Paul Grillo in 11th place, Daniel Tufts in 12th, Anthony P.M. Jones in 13th, with Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, Michael R. Cook, Sarah Savage, Adam Miles, Seth Brown, Dave M. Dawson, and Simon Maltby in 20th. Rest of those positions up on your screen. Simil, we tend to see a lot of racing here at Zandvoort. Like you said, there are a lot of corners to make potential moves. Is this going to be as exciting as I think it is?
It definitely is. The last time I was covering a race of the Skippys here at Zandvoort, the margins for error, I mean the margins at the finish were barely even 100th of a second. It was an amazing photo finish that we got over here, and if that's anything to go by, it should really be a crackerjack of a race, and I can't expect anything else with a 38 car grid. And again, we saw the gaps being very, very close in qualifying, and I expect pretty much the same in the race as well. Should be a fun one.
Absolutely should. Well, the cars are taking to the grid now for the start of tonight's events. 13 laps around this 4.3 kilometer track, all 13 corners. We have 13 laps of it. There's definitely a problem with these numbers. I'm not liking 13, that's bad luck. But either way, we'll go forwards as Benny Simonsen will come out to the pole position any second now. We'll have this race started in just a moment's time. But round number 4 here this season has already been explosive so far. Some fantastic races and results, and amazing racing on track at places like Spa and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, which is an amazing track. But it's going to be very, very, very interesting, especially with all the cars lining up through the last corner, which is Arie Ludenbach, or Ludenbach corner. Luvenok? Yeah, Wiggy, I actually got that one right. Arie Luvenok. So towards the front, getting ready for this one to go. Most of our cars taking to the grid here, just waiting for one or two stragglers to get themselves out onto the starting positions, and we get ready for tonight's festivities. Engines starting to warm up. A very busy crowd in the stands here at Zandvoort. Always looking excited. In fact, they look excited at every race. I do like that about the crowd here. Getting things ready to move now towards the sharp end. Of course, a tricky pit entrance if you make a mistake here, or you have to get down there for repairs. A bit of an S-bend on that approach to pit road. Slowing cars, of course, with it being such a long straight shot. Engines rev. Green flag flies. And it's a good start here for the Frontier field, at least at Zandvoort. Single filing out very quickly there, as just behind them Anthony Cat will swing to the far left. So does Benny Simonson at the sharp end here, diving across the front. And we saw a move by Edwards, who got his time just ahead there of Osborne in the last moments of qualifying. He holds himself in second place there. Too wide just behind them here around the area of Clark Williams. And behind them, Paul Grillo, Daniel Tufts, Anthony P.M. Jones, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts still filtering through too wide there. 27 machine of Grillo working his way through traffic. He's got the inside lines. It'll be a better run for him, Simil, as a lot of traffic, including one or two cars, just off to the inside here on turn 4.
It's so easy to mess up your lines over there, as we now see them get past the SS section. So far so clean. I'll be honest, I didn't really expect something like that on lap 1 with 38 cars on the grid. But here they come, they're still going side by side and back in the midfield, and it's just like a swarm of mosquitoes all heading towards the same target. It is such an incredible sight to see, and this is where the racing gets good. We're out on board with Michael Arcook now.
We had big problems a little bit further back in the mid-pack there. The 44 machine slinging it sideways, lost the back end of his car and had a huge slide out. Tom Bridle there from 4th on the grid. I don't believe there was any contact here, Simil, but got across that sausage curb, completely across it, slung it round sideways and was right down the outside, and cars just, plowed into by, I believe that was the number 77 machine there. It was indeed. Michael Arcook doesn't see him for the smoke, Simil, and goes flying into that car. That was a horrible accident.
If this would be in real life, it would have been a trip to the hospital, but thankfully for Tom Bridle, it's all virtual, and that is yet another advantage of sim racing. But major accidents over there on the first lap. Now, I just had to eat up my own words because I said it was going rather clean, and here we are again.
Absolutely. We've got a side-by-side run now for the lead here between Simonson and Edwards. Joe Osborne a little bit further back, actually. Not had the pace quite there early on, as Edwards gets through here and Benny Simonson takes the lead into turn 1. Benny's going to just run through here in the tow. I think with the time we saw from Osborne, Simil, we expect a little bit of faster run in the race, but his qualifying time doesn't really represent at this stage of the race, I should say. It could come in back in later. He could be being conservative, but the gap has opened up incredibly quickly here for these front two, who are at each other's heels. But we do know there is a good rivalry between Benny and Simon.
Yeah, quite clearly they're pulling away from the rest of the field. A class apart, I would say, but anything can happen in this particular race with the Skippys. They are pulling away from each other. You could say social distancing in a way. But I'm so interested to see how this battle plays out, because Benny Simonson, he was on pole position. He's now only, a couple of tenths behind Simon Edwards. And the way this could pan out in the end is these two guys could be going completely at it with each other. And that could allow all the other cars to come back in and make this an even bigger fight for the lead. Look at him sliding around over there.
Comes on here for Paul Smith of RaceSpot Zone.
Oh boy.
We have a big moment there with, I'm sorry to go back from that one, but another incident here actually amongst your lead group, including Leah Hughes, and it was Joe Osborne just ahead of him. We'll have to come back to Paul in a second, but Osborne got on the grass, got sideways, went all the way around, clips Leah Hughes, sends Leah across the grass, and he spins out after nearly being hit by Lee Anderson there. That was huge drama there coming through Rennobach earlier on in this lap, and that's completely changed the tempo at the front of our field here. We will come back to Paul Smith in just a second, but my gosh, Simil, that's a tempo-changing incident.
Yeah, that really is. That's what really happens with these Skippy cars. I mean, you kind of expect incidents all the way through the circuit. Now, though, battle for the lead coming in through, heading towards Starson corner. Oh boy. Could this be a move over here? And he looks to the outside, or does he? No, not quite. He realizes that he can actually stay behind at this stage, and Simon Edwards still maintains the lead, and Simonson has to settle with P2. But the question is, for how long? Because it seems to be on the momentum, and a move could be on the cards here.
Yeah, absolutely could be. We'll have a look back through our field, because we've got some good racing going on a little bit further back here. Richard Kent, Jamie Bird, Seth Brown right now in a good tirade here, down for 14th place. Jamie Bird here holding off Richard Kent and Matt Cox behind him, whilst chasing down Seth Brown there in the 38 machine just ahead of him. Those guys coming through there, through Hunsrung, towards Rod Slotmaker, as they come up now towards Marlborough. Great run, though, from this group. As always, 3 wide, contact, flipping
boy,
the car!
No! Oh, boy. That... that's the perfect way to describe that accident. Richard Kent going down the inside, getting a bit too eager, a bit too excited about that. And the way the car flew over. Boy.
I think if you look here, oh my gosh, I know why. If you watch the replay here, you see the front left wheel of Richard Kent goes in between the pod and the rear wheel there of Jamie Bird as he's decelerating, and he rides over that front wheel, flipping the car like a stunt ramp. And
now there's your iRacing Top 10 moment. There's an iRacing Top 10 moment right there. Oh boy.
Yeah. I lost for words for a moment there as we try to look back towards the field. Gonna have a quick look here at Anthony PM Jones running in 10th place right now, just ahead of Lee Anderson in the 337 there. They're at the back of this second pack, if you will, from Edwards and Simerson, who are still at the sharp end of your race here. Side by side, actually, between the leaders at the front as they head in towards turn 1. Benny goes past. This looks like orchestrated pass me routine here. Simil, they're just going for their thing as they just interchange back and forth, building time with the rest of the field. As towards the front of this second group, though, Martin Booker and Anthony Catt are running here. Right now it's Catt ahead of Booker. They passed, of course, into turn 1. This group including Clark Williams, Leigh Hughes, and Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, Paul Grillo, Daniel Tufts, Anthony PM Jones there, Lee Anderson as well. Great racing from them. Further back as well, this group we looked at a moment ago, Richard Miles, Christopher Miles, Richard Kent, Seth Brown, Matt Cox, Mark Langford, Mark Van Dalen also in there as well. In fact, he's currently holding off an attack from Andrew Hurst. As just ahead of them, actually, side by side there, Kent, and I believe that's going to be the 87 machine of Miles, having a bit of a run here through Marlborough as they come down towards Renault. And the action is definitely spicy throughout this field here. In fact, I think we've got a chance to go and take a look at Paul Smith, actually, if there's time for that one. He's currently running down here in 27th from 39th on the grid. Paul's right at the back here of a big group of cars. He's working his way towards. This is Paul making his way forward. Simil, he's going to be trying to get through these guys.
He's had a bit of a tumultuous race so far, a bit of an off moment early on, but yeah, P27, considering the size of the grid, it's not too bad for him. Look at him go. Sliding and slipping around over there quite a bit, but I'm sure he can make moves later on, can't he?
Oh, absolutely. Paul's definitely going to have his work cut out, but he likes to work hard. Get himself through the field here and move his way forwards. He definitely enjoys the challenge of passing cars back and forth. As we had the action there from Paul. Up towards the front now, we're looking at Catt and Booker. Booker looks like he's trying to make a reverse. It's side by side yet again for Benny and Edwards. They're just going to be swapping back and forth, changing position like routine as it's side by side for third here. Booker on the outside. Can he hold this one? It's always been a good line to take as he still has a bit of an overlap, but it'll not be enough there. Anthony Catt will slot back in front here and keep things moving forwards to that second group. Nice, simple conga line. Second group behind them, looking back a little bit further, actually. Paul Smith, we were just talking about him, just ahead of Paul, though. We've got Dave Dawson and Simon Maltby here, actually. Maltby trying to find a way past Dave Dawson, who just got past him in turn 1. Could this be an opportunity for Maltby to get something done?
It really could be. They're now approaching the middle sector. The corners are a bit tight over here, but if you can carry a good amount of momentum in, you can force the car up ahead of you into making a mistake, and that's how you get your moves done over here at Zandvoort. Here he comes in that bright yellow machine, trying to force him past. Again, it's a bit of a tricky corner, this one. You just have to tap on your brakes just a little bit too much, and because there's not too much braking involved, it's actually a lot about your commitment that you take through the corners, and that can be a defining factor, but not so much right here, as they still maintain a similar sort of gap. They're now coming in the third sector, where there are plenty of opportunities, Rachel.
Absolutely. Looking at the 18 car here in 20th, Andrew Baranowski. He just made the move there on Andrew Hurst as they were coming through, I believe that was Vodafone now, heading down towards the Audi S. He's on the inside here of another car. That's the 55 of the first. He just got past again, as he is really making his way forwards in this one. 27th to 20th currently on the grid. Looking now at Mark van Dalen, just up ahead of him now in this large group of cars we have leading up towards Matt Cox and Mr. Kent.
Yes, indeed. So that's the best thing about these Skippy races, that whenever you look in the field, there is absolutely no shortage of action, and that's the fun thing we all want to watch in the end, don't we? And at late Monday night. Here they come, though. They're still, again, single file, and the draft is coming into picture, but not as much as I expected, because at a circuit like Spa with a very, very long straight, you kind of get it in a lot. It kind of has a lot more significance as now Kent moves on the inside and moves into B13. But at Zandvoort, it's a little bit of a less significant factor, but important indeed. And now Kent is holding off this train, but look at the pressure right behind of him. Every single car is on his gearbox, and now it's a train forming right behind Kent, and can he hold them off? That's the tricky question over here, because he's shown his attacking prowess, and now can he defend?
Well, exactly. We're going to have to see if he can do that one. Well, speaking of the roads in Kent, it's very easy to get stuck in a single line there as well. They tend to be quite narrow, but I'll try to avoid the puns in this regard. He's actually got a pretty epic performance here tonight. That 33 machine of Richard Kent, up from 21st to 14th currently. And this second group is a bit back from the group just ahead of them, but there's still a potential chance, should things happen, to get themselves further up there. Richard Kent, a relatively new driver to the series, definitely having a good showing here. As up behind them, though, we see Baranowski diving up the inside there of Darlin, as they had a little bit of a touch slightly just behind this group with Richard Kent. We were just looking at there for a moment as you catch him coming around the outside here, looking for another chance. He slots back in line, looking for it now as they head towards the Audi S. He's going to look up the inside yet again. Will he just hold that brake open and put it up the inside? He does. He gets it across the apex of the curb there. Nicely done. Bringing it round to the Audi S. And a successful pass there by Baranowski. He's definitely holding the gas wide open here.
Yeah, he really is. And that's the thing about these drivers. They really are probably the most audacious drivers that we've got over here in iRacing. When they see an opportunity, they just don't hesitate away from making a move. Now, though, Mark van Dalen under pressure for his P19. He's got some slipstream at the back. Look at these cars slipping and sliding around. Don't worry, they're not actually out of control. The drivers are well and truly in control of them. Van Dalen under pressure, though. He is about to lose his 19th spot to Andrew Herbst at this stage. Herbst to the inside, Van Dalen smartly takes the outside line, but look at them go side by side still. Heading towards turn 2 now. And they're still wheel to wheel now for turn 3. It's a tricky corner, this hairpin, and Van Dalen well and truly maintains his position for now.
He certainly does. That group just ahead, still running single file relatively here. Although we have got a potential just a little bit further up here as we look towards the front of that second pack, with Cat and Booker still at things at the moment in the 3rd and 4th position here. Booker ahead right now of Anthony Cat as they're going to come through Marlborough now down towards Renault and into Vodafone. These guys have been really the core of the battle, I'd say, today, Simil. They've been really at this one. We've had some upsets and some changes, of course, with how some guys ended up running earlier on. But at the moment, this has been a really hefty group, and I've really been surprised to see them so tight together here. Because this is all the way down to 9th place and a little bit further behind that. In fact, it's down to 10th, 11th. This has been a really, really tight group.
It really has been, and the fun part is they've actually kept it quite clean, because when you have so many cars bunched up all together in a circuit like Zandvoort, you do expect carnage. But thankfully, they have not brought any of that to the circuit. Cat now chasing Booker, and I actually refer to the last race because Booker was chasing for the lead over there, and he was sitting patiently. That's what I said in the last broadcast. And the thing is, he actually wasn't. He was just buzzing and waiting for that one opportunity. Right now, though, Booker defending hard from Anthony Cat, who's just using all the slipstream in the world. He goes to the inside line for Tarzan corner. He has a bit of assistance from the back over there. Oh, Cat counter attack as well. They're going 3 wide heading to turn 1. This could not end well, but it does.
Yeah, that's really close. Lee Anderson in the middle of that group as he nose gets chopped off there, just ahead of Clark Williams. Those two side by side, just ahead, and that got very spicy. A little bit of contact there, Booker, and I think that might be Cat just up ahead there. Vaughan Roberts actually on the outside there, along with him. I wasn't expecting it to be that crowded all of a sudden, Samil.
Exactly, and all of a sudden we saw 3 cars heading into turn 1, and inside me I just had a feeling, oh no, this isn't going to end well. But thankfully they did, and that's a surprising thing. Although the battles have been absolutely superb, the racing has been clean, and that's quite a good factor to watch out for over here in Zandvoort. And in the lead, again, the drivers are just pulling past, and it's just becoming a two-horse race with Benny Simonson and Simon Edwards just pulling away from the rest of the pack. But look at this mid-pack battling going on here. 3 and 4 wide for a second, and wow, Lee Anderson under some real pressure over here.
Listen, absolutely pulling out the stops in this one. He wants a really good race today, and I think he's going to put everything into getting that. As just behind him, Paul Grillo there, and a little bit of a sandwich. You can see him just in the background behind Anderson there. Him and Clark Williams are fighting for position as they approach Audi right now. Leigh Hughes ahead of this group in 3rd place now, as time to the leader still about 5.6 seconds here, Simil. The gap has just widened up with Benny and Simonson. So Benny and Edwards. Okay, I'll use both of their last names at once, Edwards and Simonson, like in English, I promise. Have just been swapping positions, building that time so they can have their own fight later on in the race. Of course, lap 8 now. We expect them to really start going at it lap maybe 11. I think is where we'll see the gloves come off and they start to not play Mr. Nice Guy anymore. But for now, right now, I think we need to keep an eye here on Leigh Hughes and Anthony Catt. Nicholas Ford Roberts, those are going to go for moves now, as we do see Anthony Catt go for that inside line as we expected almost. The shallower inside line, almost a slide job. Oh, round goes Grillo just behind him.
Oh boy.
I believe he got turned there. The 11 car of Anthony PM Jones up the inside there. I think maybe that, probably a 50-50. Paul turns in, the 11 comes in a bit late. But either way, pit maneuvered round. Round he goes, yeah.
I think that was a bit too audacious right there. I mean, of course, we know for a fact that in these Skippy races, you just have to grab every single opportunity that you get. But that one, yeah, maybe just a little bit too much to ask for at this stage. Now, though, let's focus on the leaders. And the leaders, well, they have been just a class apart. They've just been in a different realm altogether. And the way they've just been fighting so far has been very respectable. And the way they have just put up a good, entertaining battle, it's keeping all of us entertained right here as well. I mean, they've been dominant, but they certainly have been very entertaining at the same time as well. And as you rightly mentioned, Rachel, the gloves aren't really off yet. But when we get to, say, around lap 11, lap 12, that's when, as you rightly mentioned, they will just become like boxers, trading punches one after the other, and we may just be seeing a move for the lead over here. No, not exactly. I think Simon Edwards decides that it's not really time to go for a lunge right now. Maybe he can just play the long game, which is surprising in a 13-lap race, and just last it out and see what happens later on.
Absolutely, as the second pack coming through now, it's going to be Anthony Catt ahead of Leigh Hughes here, ahead of Nicholas Vaughan Roberts. Second group of that pack, Martin Booker with Lee Anderson just ahead of him here, Clark Williams behind that. These guys still going for absolutely everything they can in this one, as we really see it spread out a bit in this second pack. But behind him is still going strong. Seth Brown, Mark Langford, Andrew Baranowski climbing even further up 10 spots right now to 17th place. It's an absolute riot of a race. I'm loving this thing. It's an amazing event here. These guys have been going all out, pulling those stops and putting on a great show for us tonight.
And look at all the virtual fans sitting around over here enjoying the show. I mean, unfortunately, we can't really get them in real life. Oh boy, that's a major accident. Oh, wow, that is probably one of the most catastrophic hardware failures I have ever seen in my time in sim racing. Turn 1000 blocked, and he just goes straight on.
Oh my gosh, that must have been hardware. I mean, it has to be something mechanical there for the driver, because that just went...
Ooh.
Wow.
That wheel just flew off as if a cricketer just hit it for a 6, and the wheel just went flying off. That is a massive accident. It has to be hardware. It just can't be anything else. A driver can't just lose concentration quite like that. And as we see the replay once again, it's the number 11 car bang into the wall. Boy.
Wow, yeah. That was kind of scary. That wheel, I think Elon Musk has definitely fitted that to the car, because that thing was flying into orbit. Just behind them right now, I'm keeping my eye here on some of these guys, looking at Mark Langford in this group right now. He is currently alongside here with Andrew Herbst, as they're coming now down through, I believe that was Vodafone just dropping through now. 10 car trying to make his way forwards here, just behind Miles there, as Baranowski ahead of them. You can just see him there, the orange machine, going up the inside here into the Audi S. Makes that move there on the 38 of Seth Brown. Chalk him up another spot into 14th here for Andrew Baranowski. And that is Matt Cox right ahead of him, so there is every chance he'll take that fight, as behind your leaders, third and fourth, side by side yet again. They might be joined here by Nicholas Vaughan Roberts as well. If he has the opportunity, he'll stay back for now. Here they'll come. 29 of Cat leading the way there in that second group. Just behind him, Leah Hughes, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, that three-car group tight together as they'll drop down into the hairpin here. And we're seeing that tempo really start to pick up now. We're definitely seeing an urgency, Sunil, in these drivers. It's go time. Lap
Exactly. They've literally rubbed the weighing chalk on their hands, and now they're prepared for battle. And look at them go right here past the SS section that we're coming up right now. And look at them go now. The thing is, this is the time when the drivers actually need to get a move done at this stage. Again, they cannot afford to actually make a mistake at this stage, because they know for a fact that the higher positions are up for grabs, and if they can put in something extraordinary, they may as well be up in a higher position. Again, now we normally speak in a race about maintaining consistency and trying not to go for qualifying laps all the way through, but in the Skippys, with only 13 laps of Zandvoort, you just have to push perpetually, and the urgency right here is just building up on the dial. Well, the intensity level has just been taken up to 11 at this stage.
Yeah, certainly is. And, well, speaking of 11, lap 11, we called that for when the leaders would start to really go at things. The gloves would come off, and right now I'm seeing Benny Simonson up here all over that gearbox of Simon Edwards. Now is when I think this is going to get really, really heavy for these guys. This is when we're going to see most of that action start to kick in, and when these passes will start to become really tactical here, because based on what we're seeing, we'll just take this lap as an example now, coming through the final corner for your lead two. Benny's going to come and make that move out the outside. This is where the test run comes in. It's not quite ahead. Oh, it was just ahead at the line. So maybe you want to be second coming out that final corner. Because yes, Benny right now is in there in first. Simon wants to get ahead of him here. You can see he's really pushing this thing. Simon wants to stay ahead of him. Dropping now through the hairpin here as they'll keep pushing even harder. Benny Simonson leading. Simon Edwards in second at the moment. This is lap 12, so expect Simon to probably get past Benny here. Benny wants to be in second for lap 13, Sunil.
Yes, indeed, and that's the thing, because you can get a whole lot of draft coming out of the final corner, and you can use it to your advantage and try and get up ahead at the line. Again, you don't want to be in the lead heading into turn one of the final lap, because if you do so, the other guy may just have that major advantage heading off the final corner, and they may snatch the win from you in the most dramatic of circumstances. We're now approaching the white flag lap. It's lap 13, and at this stage, you kind of get a feeling that, well, Benny, he's in the wrong position in P1.
Well, not yet, of course. We're on the white flag right now. So Benny is in a good position. I think he's hoping Simon will go for that pass here on the start-finish straight. I think he's expecting it. I mean, exactly. If you or I were Simon Edwards, we'd be saying, okay, we can just hang on the brakes. We're good, Benny. We're okay here. We like this spot. This is where we want to be. I don't think the gamble of being out front to be able to power it out to that last corner is going to be enough with the draft here, with how long that straight is. And you can see him dropping back here. Simon Edwards is actually hanging off the gas as they come through the final corners. He doesn't want to be right up in that gearbox, forced to kind of make a move.
So he goes on the gravel for a little bit, and the thing is with Zandvoort, thankfully doesn't really impact these Skippy cars too much. They just glide over it a little bit, and now look at him get all the draft. He moves to the inside line. He's not going to make a move though, because he's smart enough about that. He wants to stay in second place heading out of that final corner, and yet again he stays in P2. So Benny Simonson allowed to be in P1, and we could be in for a crack-jack for finish here.
Certainly could be. Second pack, Leah Hughes is packing up right now. Leah and Anthony Cat both going at this thing as they are now coming through turn 1 and 2 and 3. Amazing running from those guys. It's just single file back out again. Your leaders, of course, still putting all the action on. This final lap is absolutely everything, though. We'll stay focused on those guys for now here, as camera looking back there towards Simon Edwards from the back of Benny Simonson's car. This is where it all matters. Benny having to hold him off, looking to the inside. Simon Edwards takes an opportunity to take a nose in there, and through they'll come, dropping now down into Renault, or Marlborough, down towards Renault, sorry, here towards then Vodafone. And this is absolutely everything on right now. This is where it matters, Samil. This is everything.
Exactly. So the tactical game is being played over here, but as a driver, you always want to be up ahead all the time. So for how long can Simon Edwards maintain his patience? That's the question. Approaching the final few corners over here for this race, it is going to be such a close finish. I can assure you about that. And for how long can they wait? Because if you're Simon Edwards, you want to be up ahead, but you just can't leave it a bit too late. But unfortunately, that's what he may have to do right here now. Rachel, coming through the final couple of corners, here we go for the finish.
Absolutely, here it is. Now, look how much closer he is this time round. Simon Edwards right up at the back. He wants the best possible run through the corner. Get as much draft as he can through this very fast final corner. The Ari Ludnock final corner going to be a big run for him. Look at the overspeed. He's already got X in that corner, Ben. He's got to block him. Is all he can possibly do here to try and hold him off as he gets to the outside. This could be everything for Simon Edwards. He's going to be ahead of him. Contact with the wheels there. And across the line it will come. And it's going to be Simon Edwards with that win there behind them. Same thing for between Hughes and Cat. It's side by side. Cat will take the line though. Big one for him. Just behind them, we're going to see Grillo come across solo. Number of solo cars here. We had a big crash actually with Baranowski and others in that final couple of corners. And oh, it was, I believe Seth Brown got sideways. He got on the gravel, came back across the track, collected Baranowski, and we had a big impact there. Those two guys getting donked out of this one. You'll see him there go wide on the replay. Gets on that gravel, gets sideways, bam!
Oh,
he
that's
goes
a major
side.
crash.
Oh, I feel so bad for those guys. They were both racing so well today. Just unfortunate timing there. Absolute tragedy as the rest of the cars coming across the field here. That, I gotta say, Simil, that's one of my favourite races at Zandvoort. We've had some procedurals, but that one tonight was an absolute hoot.
Incredible. That's the fascinating part about these Skippy races. They may be short, but the action that we get now, let's take a look at this replay, and I kind of have a feeling that the tactical game in the end helped out Simon Edwards. Benny Simonson could have dropped back. He could have played the gentleman's game and said, no, after you, sir. And you know, they had enough of a cushion behind the car, with the cars behind of them, so he just could have let him pass. And in the end, look at the finish. The 52 comes to the outside. We're just going to get a photo finish over here. Look at the margins. He makes contact, and wow, the 52 just played the tactical game in the end, and the margins by which it played out in his favor, barely anything. So wow, that was just absolutely insane. You know, time and again I just get excited over finishes like this, but I don't know, I shouldn't be, because you just can't expect this all the time with these Skippys. But how can you not? As a racing fan, getting finishes like this one, it just gets your heart jumping and pumping, and all the blood in your body, it just gets so hot. And wow, this is the sort of stuff that you actually tune in to watch racing for. Incredible, no other word.
Absolutely. That wheel bump at the end there between those two was just pure everything. They wanted everything they had. Well, either way, to our results, we have Simon Edwards on the top step podium tonight, with Benny Simmons in second, Anthony Catt there in third, Lee Hughes in fourth, with Nicholas Vaughan Roberts in fifth place. Lee Anderson, Martin Booker, Clark Williams, Daniel Tuff and Adam Miles rounds your top 10 here today. 11th place is Paul Grillo with Matt Cox, Andrew Hubst, Christopher Miles, Mark Langford, Mark Van Dalen, Simon Mulvey, Paul Smith in 18th there, and Peter Parnell, with Christopher Kane rounding out your top 10. Most of those positions on your screen. As wow, we are going to take this one to a little commercial break here right as we finish. Stay tuned. We'll have the post-race driver interviews coming up for you in just a moment's time.
Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead as Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. Oh, here we go. It's just about to go away. They bump coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Ryan. Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 in North Wilkesboro.
Welcome back to another Skippys. We've got the post-race interviews here with you right now from Zandvoort. A fantastic race tonight. First off, we'll be starting out with Simon Edwards, your winner here tonight. Simon, gotta say, love the fist bump at the end with Benny. It was, thanks for letting me win, Benny. Fist bump with wheels. Great race tonight.
Yeah, it was a good race that, yeah. It wasn't me who did the bumping wheels, but yeah. It didn't matter, obviously, because we were over the line, even if we'd been in small pieces. But yeah, it was a good race. I quite like hot lapping around here anyway, and Zandvoort's nice track, so it wasn't too boring just swapping with Benny through the race, so I quite enjoyed that. I did think that we might get a little bit of chaos in the first lap, and I was right, and luckily it was all behind us.
Certainly did, of course. It did look like it was very much a standard racinger's everyday business job with you and Benny of back and forth, just to build time on the guys behind you, and it seemed to pay off. Of course, you guys had a pretty much instant fight for yourselves at the end. But this track, we were talking a little bit beforehand about the weather being a little bit interesting today. Cloudy, but warm.
Yeah, I actually thought it made the first lap actually more stable than it has been in the week, where it's been a lot cooler. We're nearly a second faster in the week. I've only had a couple of races, but they've both been about a second faster, but the first laps have been more sketchy. So I was surprised that we did get a bit wobbly on the first lap. Even myself, I got a bit wobbly behind Benny. Benny had a little wobble, and then me backing off, I got a bit of a wobble, and then chaos happened behind me.
Yes, certainly did. Well, a fantastic result nevertheless. A very, very busy race there, and a great result nevertheless. Nice to see you back here in first place. Having a chat to us.
Yeah, it's my first win of the season, isn't it? And it's great to beat Benny. You've got a good benchmark there. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously with the draft, it's a bit lucky. You either catch it just right or not at the end there. So I won't say that it was a win that I was planning too much. I was just. It
looked like it. We saw you hang back on the second to last lap, so it was definitely something. We noticed your thought process.
Yeah, in my midweek races, I've been actually racing through the last lap, if you know what I mean. I've been trying to defend the lead, but I felt just the way the weather was that it wasn't too much of an advantage, and in the end it didn't end up an advantage, so that was good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Simon, coming on today with the win here at Zandvoort in round number 4. And next, Simil has Paul Smith to talk to.
Paul, hello. I hope you don't mind.
Simil.
I hope you don't mind us dragging you into the commentary booth today.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead.
Well, a rather tumultuous race for you over there for a couple of seconds, but eventually coming up to a good result.
Do you know what? That was a really enjoyable race. You know, as it's well documented with these races in the Monday Night Skippies, I generally start at the back of the grid. I don't qualify. I do qualify sometimes just to see how I sort of get on in the mid pack. But it's so much fun starting from the back of the grid. You learn a lot of racecraft from being at the back of the grid, and it was so much. it was great to be wheel to wheel with so many, and the fact that there wasn't too many incidents as well. I think it was quite a clean race actually, was this one. So I had to actually make some overtakes, which is, I don't normally have to do that. I normally make up the majority of my places on lap 1, but I was playing it a bit canny with it being such a tight, twisty track. But yeah, went wide on lap 2. Cold rear tyres catching me out, but then the rest of the race I was just on a charge and I loved every minute of it.
Well, it was quite fun indeed towards the end. And Paul, a question about the draft as such. Wasn't really a major factor here at Zandvoort, considering how small the opening straight is?
Yeah, well, getting a run off of the final 2 corners, that's crucial to making an advantage of getting the draft down that pit straight into Tarzan. It was crucial to get the run, especially out of Ari Lyndike corner. Getting that run then in the draft down at the turn 1. It wasn't the main overtaking spot for me. Actually, into the chicane was the strongest point for me. Getting the run out of the sort of more technical section, that seemed to work more for me than trying to get a draft, because I was struggling to get those last 2 corners right. But it was worth quite a bit, because Pete Parker, credit to him, he was putting a lot of pressure on me towards the end, putting just in that draft all the time and just sticking with me and showing his nose a couple of times. So, you know, fair credit to him and the others. Once he got in that draft, that was it.
Well, Paul, just a quick final question. How much of your pace today was dedicated down to a hat?
Oh, well, we all know that it's the Yorkshire Moses. You know, it's all down to the flat cap. Without my flat cap, I'll lose about half a second. Plus, I've got RaceSpot logos on the car as well. That's worth 0.2 of a second a lap. So yeah, it's all down to the power of the hat and the power of the RaceSpot stickers.
Well, certainly quite an aerodynamic flat cap there is. But once again, Paul, good result in the end. Great drive, and congratulations on P18.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sunil. Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
Well, that, folks, was Paul Smith for you, finishing off in P18, and of course, one of RaceSpot's very own.
He certainly is, and yeah, this is why top hats went out of fashion for racing drivers, Sumil. Just didn't have the aero properties.
Quite literally.
Although I would like to test how good Stetsons are for that, but I digress. Either way, folks, it's been a fantastic one here today at Zandvoort. Hope you guys had a great time watching. I know we did up here in the booth. You have all been amazing. I've been Rachel Whiteford. Sumil Arona has been with us today as well, and Hugo Louise on the cameras will join you same time next week.